Another thing that we're moving forward in California is we have a medical cannabis safety committee that's formed to start working on coming up with regulations for quality control of the cannabis that's sold in these dispensaries, to make sure that it's not contaminated with pesticides, molds, and things like that. We're trying to get labeling of dosages of the kind of cannabis thing. So if we can start regulating ourselves and showing that we are a legitimate industry, along with the Amsterdam University that has formed there in Oakland and in Los Angeles, we have classes where you can take classes, and there's an ad in here that you can look up at the Amsterdam University, in how to develop the industry, how to open up a dispensary, how to cultivate, how to do all these things in a responsible manner. So we're looking towards responsible self-regulation as the future for opening it up and making it more palatable in general for the public to get on board with more reform. Okay?
Excellent. Thank you.
Vote Obama.
We'll just go down the line. Alan St. Pierre, Executive Director of NORML, is next.
Thank you very much, Dominic. Thanks everybody for coming out and getting a little edumacation this morning. I just basically have 3 points. One is to allude to what is the next big maypole for us to all run around in Congress, which is H.R. 5843, which is the first decriminalization bill introduced in Congress in nearly 30 years. I can tell you frankly, it's not going to get very far in the next year. We have to go through these very changes that Mikki has talked about. If Obama was to win, he certainly has spoken out in favor of decriminalization, even though he's enjoyed a couple of flip-flops on it, but I think his heart of heart is pretty clear on it. Second, if the Democrats pick up 30, 40, 50 or more seats in the Congress, there's a much better chance that this can all happen. But for those of you who don't understand how the legislative system works, yeah, we can get through the House. The House is a pure democracy. If you win by one vote, that's it, it's over. But then we go on to the Senate. The Senate's a completely different beast. A single senator can put a hold on legislation. And I can guarantee you there's 12 to 15 mainly Republican senators who would put a hold on this. So we've got a long road to hoe to get to decrim, but that maypole is established in the ground, and it's taken 25 years to get back to that point. So that's crucial for everybody to understand. Another thing that will happen this year, and if Rob is to talk about it, I hope, then the Massachusetts decrim bill, the initiative, that will be another chink in the armor, if you will, in the world of prohibition. If my home state of Massachusetts votes for decrim, it will become the 13th state to decriminalize marijuana, making it even further that 1 out of 3 of us live in a state or municipality where it's effectively decriminalized. My 2 major points here today, though, is looking to the future. How do we get, as Dominic has described, beyond where we're at today, beyond medical marijuana, and frankly even beyond decrim? Well, number one is we've got to do a better job of building a stakeholder community. We probably have less than a 0.0001% penetration rate into the marijuana consuming market. If you took all of the drug reform policy groups and took out the redundancies, it might equal 50 to 60,000 Americans in a country of 300 million. So clearly, in my view, we got to get up to like 1%. And can you believe that if just 1% of cannabis consumers were involved in their own liberation, we could push this ball over the line, to use a sports metaphor. And I think some of the ways to do this, Dominic alluded to one of them, is an ad campaign. And here's the key: sustained ad campaigns with a national scope. The ads that Mason Tvert has been running in Denver has been terrific. Over the 3 or 4 years, he's been juxtaposing alcohol and marijuana. That would be a wonderful policy to push out to the nation, and again, it must be sustained. The #1 rule in advertising is repetition, repetition, repetition. So while millions of dollars are poured into law reform these days, some of it could well be better spent on a national advertising campaign so that people know that there are millions of people working towards reform. And some of those obvious targets are alternative papers. There's 130 of them in the United States. Dominic works for one of them. It's a given. That's our demographic. The other are the 25 to 30 major commercial gay and lesbian publications. These reach incredibly affluent and politically powerful people in our country. And of course, web pages as that proliferates. And the other thing too that I'm quite vexed at, and as somebody who runs Normal, I hope you can appreciate this, is that we make the cost, the threshold to get involved, too high. For example, if you want to come to a Normal conference, it's about $150 to $200. You're probably going to have to spend $300 to $500, maybe $1,000 going to it. If you want to go to a DPA conference, it's pretty much the same. But in there, 3/4 or more of the people that come to the conference come on a scholarship that is effectively provided by a billionaire. MPP has essentially conferences that you have to be invited to. So if we want to have particularly more minorities and women get involved, we've got to make it so that the threshold is, say, $25 to come to a conference, not $1,000. That makes a huge difference. The internet. The internet is clearly where reformers have our best chance to reach out. When I got to Normal in 1991, every quarter you might reach 8,000 people through a mailing. Today, 40,000 people a day go to the page, 32,000 people a day download the podcast, 1.5 million pages a day are downloaded of reports and information. The internet is clearly the way to reach individuals. And the last point I'd like to make is forcing the debate. In Schopenhauer's 3 stages of truth, the first stage is they mock you, they make fun of you, they pretend you don't even exist. The second stage is they fight you. They fight you hard. The third stage, of course, is it's universally true. The truth is known to be universally everywhere and apparent. And so, quickly to wind up here, what we have done in the last couple of weeks at Normal is to force this debate on, for one case, the blog, The Hill, which is read almost exclusively by staffers in Capitol Hill. This has been the most trafficked blog they've ever posted, the debate about legalizing marijuana. There's another page owned by the Washington Post which is called Opposing Viewpoints. And again, the legalizing debate has drawn out the ONDCP, the DEA, and our opponents who otherwise never come out and debate us. So, in many ways, we're forcing the debate today.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan St. Pierre from Normal. Next, we have David Frankel from Vote Hemp and the Hemp Industries Association.
Good morning. I want to sort of add and complement to what the other speakers have been saying. Dominic raised a really core question. How can we as a movement recognize where we're at, where we want to be, and keep going there despite who the president is? I think we can just assume we're not going to get tons of help from the president. The president's going to be busy, right, with a pretty roughed up economy and a war. And I think we can also realize that what gets said this time of year often doesn't get remembered this time next year. So I share the optimistic enthusiasm. I believe that, personally, that Obama would be the right choice, mostly because of I think it sends the right message about how American people feel about people of color, and it goes back, in my view anyway, to the Haile Selassie speech and Bob Marley's song War. We might even get out of war if we show people that the color of a man's skin means no more than the color of his eyes. But how does that affect ganja, cannabis? I want to address the public image notion. This is something that we've come across a lot in dealing with hemp. In dealing with the industrial forms of cannabis, we are really forced to build alliances among scientists and farmers and the like, and we can assume that a large portion of those people are not fully ganja friendly. And so, we get into a lot of wordsmithing, you might say. I even brought a lawsuit against the DEA for using the word marijuana to refer to hemp, because they used it with a J. We all know marijuana with a J is a slang term. There's no legal term in any legal book. It's marijuana with a J, it's marijuana with an H, right? That's a legal term, but it has a slanderous effect. And so I would encourage us all to mix the words up a little bit. Marijuana, marijuana, ganja. Throw in some ganja. I just learned that from Sunil that that's from Sanskrit. Why not go back to the Sanskrit? Tons of people taking yoga. They understand Sanskrit, right?